Hello, my name is Daniel Weiss, and in this video we are going to speak about should you follow a diet of a specific athlete. So as we know, we both amateur, professional athletes, or just an average person, we want to improve our life, improve our health, improve our lifespan. We want to live happier, more fulfilled life. And diet or making nutritional changes can be a part of that if you are not there already. And many people are simply not that they want to improve it. And sometimes we look at people who already have it, right? For example, athletes. They are peak performers, Olympians, and what happens with them? We want to copy them. We want to copy their habits. We want to have that kind of safe space that, okay, he's doing it, it must be working for him, and we make this false conclusion that it must be also working for me. Let me tell you that this is a good place to start with, right? I mean, there are many athletes, especially right now, who are making a good changes in their diet. For example, Michael Phelps, to who we will come or mention him later during this video. But many athletes, they can just eat whatever, and that's a mistake. So following one specific athlete's diet plan or nutrition plan doesn't necessarily imply that it will be applicable to yourself, and my job is to find the nutrition that works for you specifically. And there are many variables, there are many things that affect nutrition, not only the nutritional content of the food itself, but things like stress, our environment, attainability, sustainability of the food and the nutrition plan, and many other things, relationships, and it's all interconnected. Over the years, I found out that there are basically many different people following many different diets, and for all of them, it seems to be working. So, yeah, it's natural for us to be confused that by all these nutrition recommendations for somebody high fat diet, for somebody high carb diet, and this is because we don't understand nutrition in context. Like, for example, I didn't really understand it in context, and that's why I followed intermittent fasting. That's why I did all different kinds of things. And when there is a new research out, you just follow it. Maybe like don't eat don't eat any fat, and the next week there is like don't eat carbs. So what? Then you switch to not eating carbs at all, and yes, this is really tiring switching this diet, and it's also stressful to our body to some extent. So let me just point out and let's focus on what works, and I will show you what I learned when it comes to athletic population over the years. So there are basically two major things. First things, they are really genetic freaks, and this was one of the things that was mentioned at one of the conferences that I visited, and it really opened my eyes, because think about the Olympian athletes. They travel a lot, right? And that means that the foods that are available from region to region will be different. In US, it will be different than in Middle East, than in Central, Western Europe, North Europe or Northern Europe, and different in Russia. And of course, nowadays you can get all these foods, but they will be of different quality, and there are several restrictions. I mean, anybody who ever traveled knows that you cannot just have some specific diet plan and stick to it if you travel a lot. At the same time, when we speak about Olympians, what we see is Olympic Village, which is full of McDonald's, fast food, not necessarily healthy food. Quite the opposite. And do you think that all Olympians or all the athletes just eat healthy foods, or the foods that we as a general population consider healthy or by nutritional guidelines? No, not true. You can argue that this is because they have a high energy expenditure, so they can even eat nails, and it doesn't matter, and you will be right to some extent. But when we look also at Michael Phelps' diet, his diet has changed over the years. Like when you compare it to 2012, 2016, 2017, 18, it is dramatical improvement and change. And we will get back to that later as well. So if you think that following some specific athlete's diet gives you permission to eat like them, you might be wrong. Because really, if they eat these fast foods, and maybe you also have very high physical activity and you think, I should be eating, or I can be eating these fast foods all the time, you are wrong. The second major point that I found out was that basically we need to look at it also from the perspective of the time, like long term versus short term. There are things, like sacrifices, that an athlete, amateur or Olympic, needs to make. And that is that, to grow muscle, the fastest way is different than growing muscle over a longer period of time, but in a more healthy way. So if you want to grow your muscle as fast as possible, you go for whey protein. If you, however, want to grow with health in mind, with nutrition and everything, whey might not be the best for you, for yourself. Maybe the plant-based proteins might be even better, and there is more and more research coming out that would suggest and support these things. So this is basically because of IGF-1 spikes, and which is a growth hormone, and the more growth hormone you have, simply said, the faster you age, because growing means aging. Very, very simply said. So just another point to consider is that we have this group mentality. The group mentality, basically what it is about is like Matt Fitzgerald said in one of his interviews, and that is that monkey sees, monkey does. And that's what we do. We want to copy, as I mentioned in the introduction. And we see somebody doing something, we want to have that safe feeling because we are confused about what to do, what the nutrition advice to follow, or any advice in general, and so we copy that. Which is good, but we cannot copy one monkey in isolation because we don't understand the context. What we should do, however, is look at the group of monkeys, so let's say athletic population, who have like similar, that are from the same sport, they have similar performance and such, and copy their best practices. Another important thing that Matt Fitzgerald also mentioned is that dog bites man doesn't make the news, but man bites the dog makes the news. So in the context of nutrition is that we have some certain diet rules or certain diets that simply work, and from time to time there is a person who, I don't know, eat Twinkies or pizza like Michael Phelps did, and it makes the sensation, it makes the news, because this is exact opposite of what 90% of athletes do. They try to eat healthy, they eat whole grains, they eat whole foods, and Michael Phelps is stuffing his throat with all these pizzas, hamburgers and whatever, instead of fruit and really nutrient dense foods. So this makes the news, and this gives a lot of people permission, or they give themselves the permission based on that they can be eating just whatever. But as I mentioned in the first point, some people are simply genetic freaks, and therefore it doesn't necessarily mean it will apply to you, to yourself. Now let's look at 3 different Olympians. I found this article on one of the websites that I will link down below, and it's just amazing. They are all in the same age group. They are all US Olympic swimmers, gold medalists, and their diet is completely different. So this just shows once again the same thing about regarding the diet, that different people will have different things. However, let me tell you one thing. What is the most common thing among populations, the blue zone populations? These are the zones with most healthy individuals, most happy individuals, is that they eat like 80-90% plant-based diet. So this is what you want to stick with. And for the longevity, for the health, for the even performance, you want to focus on really having this 80-90% of your foods coming from nutrient dense whole foods. Having said that, let's go and take a look at these three athletes. So there is Michael Phelps, then we have Peter van der Kay and Ryan Lochte. I hope I pronounced it right. Doesn't matter. All of them ages 30 to 34, and Phelps is 193, 88 kilograms. Van der Kay 193, 95 kilograms. Lochte is 188 meters and 84 kilograms. So they are pretty similar, right? But when we look at their diet, actually, Michael Phelps' diet, these are all, we are comparing their diet from the same time. So while Peter van der Kay and Lochte ate primarily whole foods, Michael Phelps was really stuffing himself with these 12,000 calories a day and, what we call junk foods, really like drinking soda, eating pasta, pizzas and hamburgers, a lot of cheese, while Lochte was at 8,000 calories a day, mostly whole foods, steaks, fish, porridge or oatmeal bowl. Of course, some pasta. Pasta is not necessarily bad. But Peter van der Kay, he was eating, just these smoothie bowls, sandwiches, whole foods, a lot of fruits. Again, whole foods. But he's at just about 3,000 calories, which is only a fourth of Michael Phelps's. Of course, there are differences in the training volume. This is without question, and targeting or getting 12,000 calories on whole foods will be very, very different than having it on junk food, because one of the points of junk food is that it's hyper palatable, it packs a lot of calories with just a few, typically with just a few nutrients, and it doesn't, it's not as heavy, it's not as filling. That's what I wanted to say. So when you have a pizza, for example, it can be 2,000 calories, or you can make a pizza that is 600 calories. There is a big difference, and they can look very similar. But also there is one thing, as I'm posting this screenshot here. Michael Phelps breakfast 2008, 12,000 calories, and from 2016 it is very different. And as you can see on the screenshot here, a lot of athletes are starting to pay attention to the role nutrition plays in performance and longevity. That's what I've been saying all the time. Longevity, they make sacrifices in terms of longevity for performance, but in the end game is performance and longevity go hand in hand. It can take more time to develop this performance, but you will be happy and your body will thank you from the long-term perspective. In the early stages of their career, they may not pay attention to diet, and they are young and don't notice the effects. That's because, when we are young, our bodies really can handle much more, and you see all these athletes, as they age, they start paying more and more attention to what they eat, because one of the amazing things when it comes to nutrition is that what works for me now doesn't need to be working for me 2 years later. Now I'm thriving on the plant-based diet. Maybe 2-3 years from now it will not be so. They suffer more injuries and age catches up to them. Exactly what I just said. They dial into nutrition and see that it affects if they get to the games, their ability to repair and how they recover. And the recovery is one of the most important aspects when it comes to athletic performance because it affects your training, and if you can recover faster you can get much more training out during the longer periods like throughout the year, and this will show up like I mentioned in my another video that was like fueling plant-based athletes. Check that video out. That wisdom that comes with age teaches athletes it's worth making in brackets dietary changes. Saigo said. Yeah, wise man, woman. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, listening. I hope you found out something new. I hope I inspired you, and if you want to make some dietary changes that work for you or find a nutrition plan that works for you to boost your performance, to help prevent injuries, to recover faster, then contact me as I'm working with people to make these changes for themselves. And like, share, subscribe. Also be free to check my Facebook group. That is linked down below, my website. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening and you have a great day.